5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, want this one? No, I don't want this one. Hi. That was a great start, wasn't it? It's me, Mr. Yeats, back at it. Oh, my collar's weird. Back at it again with another video. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching live, good on you. If you're not watching live, that's okay. At least you're watching. So, welcome. I know we've done the lesson earlier in the week. It's the first lesson of the day. Well done if you are awake this early, or you're like, oh, I'll just watch Mr. Yates. Or be like, woo. Let me know if you're watching. Email, put a chat thing in the live chat thing, and I'll be like, ooh, that person's watching. Nice. Gonna carry on what we started last lesson. I'm losing my mind. We're gonna start with what we're gonna carry on with what we did last lesson, with looking at Stone Cold. So, without further ado, we'll go with ado. Here we go. Here is your questions to start off with today. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to complete these questions. Time starts now. Make sure you copy date and title in your books and underline with a ruler. Otherwise, I will come around with my ruler staring at your books and be like, that's not good enough. You know I will. Let's have a look. Oh, we've got 3 people watching. Oh, unable to connect to chat. Refresh just could kill the stream, but hey. Here we go. Answering the questions. Oh, I may have broken it. Oh no, we're good. We good. We all good. See that thing, because that will mess everything up. There we go. Hey, it's working. Have I got my microphone on? Please say I do. So yeah, it's on. 4 minutes. 4 minutes left. Hope we're all well. Hope we're all okay. Oh, nice little. About 3 minutes left. 3 minutes. 3 minutos. 3 minutes. About 3 minutes left, Mr. Wilson says. Oh, I should do the whole lesson as Mr. Wilson, shouldn't I? That'd be good fun. It's Mr. Wilson. The characters are stone cold. I just couldn't believe it, to be honest. One of the characters in the book is called Link. True or false? I don't know how you ever get any work done with me here. I'm very distracting. Very distracting. So distracting, in fact, that I'm going to get my phone out and make sure that I haven't. Way just got a message saying I got a new subscriber. Isn't that interesting? Right, put the phone over there to stop distracting me. I always get messages from other teachers like, oh, so what are you teaching today? And I'm like, here's the link, tune in. Anyway, as my talking's carried on, you have 3 minutes remaining. Quite nice questions, aren't they? It's almost like I wrote them. Two minutos left. 2 minutos. This is really boring for me. You guys have got at least got something to do. You're answering questions. And like, I ain't got time to do. Well, I have got time to do that, but I know the answers. Well, you know the answers. I don't know what I'm on about. Normally, obviously, I'll be going around and register. Mr. Wilson. Checking your work. All that. But no, can't do that. Sad, isn't it? Very sad. Feel sorry for me. 1 minute. 1 minute. Should feel very sorry for me. Yeah. Oh, this is the exciting bit. Is where like, can it make me jump when it goes ding ding ding? Who knows? Can it? Will it? Won't it? Tune in to find out. Oh, I'm so silly. And the chat has died again. If I do that, does that fix it? There we go, fixed it. He's buzzing me now. Way! So, here we go. Time is up. Let's have a look-sees at what the questions and answers are. Say! Still going to take a while. I don't get this timer. It's broken. It's not mine. I stole it. But anyway, moving on. Number 1, true or false? One of the characters in the story is called, well, in the book, is called Link. That is true. Woo! Well done. Hopefully you remembered that. It's not been that long since we did it. Yes, it is true. One of the characters in the book is called Link. Number 2, what colours have been used and what is the effect of this? Okay, we're talking about the front cover now. So what colours on the front cover have been used and the effect of it? I'll come to that in a bit more detail in a moment. Number 3, why do you think the author decided to have just a silhouette of a figure instead of a clear image? Again, we'll come to that in a little bit more detail in a second. Why is the title of the book in white? Again, more detail in a moment. It's really exciting. It's just me saying that. I'll find out in a moment. Number 5, what are the connotations of colour white? Okay, think about all the stuff we did with Romeo and Juliet. That one should come back to you, hopefully. Number 6, who is the author of the book? There we go. We can do this one. Robert Swindells. Robert Swindells. What do you think the book story is going to be about? You know the answer that I don't, because it's your own personal opinion. What does stone cold mean? It means being really cold, freezing cold, stone, maybe sort of hard, solid. Cold means not warm. Cold means cold. That sounds weird, doesn't it? Like freezing. Do you think this book is older or newer than the story of Romeo and Juliet? It is obviously newer. And what is an adjective? It's a describing word that describes the nouns. If we click on this, and hopefully it will work this time and not make me be silly. And of course it's not going to work in a moment, any second now. It will change slides about 4 times when I only wanted to change once. There we go. So we could say the blurred figure gives the book a mysterious tone as the figure is unidentified. The white light surrounding the dark figure suggests purity and innocence. Okay, so some sort of innocence. I would say it's like got religious connotations as well, isn't it? Because it's like silhouette-y and like the gates of heaven, something like that. Okay, so maybe some religious connotations in terms of death and stuff like that, and religion, mystery. Anyway, definitely. The blue colour suggests that the main character is a man and represents loyalty. Don't know where they've got that from, but yeah. So it suggests coldness, doesn't it? Like freezing cold, because blue is a cold colour. The title of the book is in white, a colour which represents goodness, positivity. This is also contrasted against a dark black background, showing how the book has clear implications of good versus evil. Okay, so maybe the white against the black shows good versus evil. See what you can say about just the book title, or book cover, even not a title. The author's name is in orange. Orange usually represents happiness, which is contrasted against a dark and mysterious background. The colour also stands as a warning for its high visibility. Okay, so quite important points there. So, add up your scores and what you got on these questions. So, first one of the characters in the book is called Link. True. What colours have been used? Orange, black, blue, white. The effect of this we went through a minute ago. Why do you think the authors decided to have a silhouette of a figure instead of a clear image? Maybe because they want you to have a sense of mystery. Why is the title of the book in white? Because it contracts and also it can suggest positivity. What are the connotations of the colour white? Okay, so positivity, happiness, contrasting good and evil. Who's the author of the book? Robert Swindells. What do you think the book's going to be about? Probably homelessness, hopefully, if you think along those lines. What does Stone Cold mean? Been through that. Do you think this book is older or newer than the story of Romeo and Juliet? It is newer. And what is an adjective? It's a describing word that describes the noun. Lovely. So, there we go. So, today we are going to be looking at who are the characters of Stone Cold. Okay, so I'll only explore our first impressions of the characters. I should say the characters, not of characters. Oh dear, Mr. Yates, what are you like? On target, to be able to identify the characters in the story Stone Cold. Above target, to be able to identify and explore the characters in Stone Cold using evidence to support your point. Probably what I should have written. What is the big picture for today's lesson? Who are the characters in Stone Cold? How do they fit into the story? Why are they important? Who are the important characters? Who are the not so important characters? Key vocabulary, character, and homelessness. I'm still ready on that one. So, here we go. 1 minute. What do we already know about the story? Which characters are we already aware of from last lesson? Just reading the blurb. Now, this is where people are like, oh, I left my notes in the other room. Oh, I'm in my bedroom and downstairs are my notes. Sorry. It's the truth. No emails. No chats. Lovely. So what do we know about the story? Just from the blurb. Maybe jump that email. Yay! Hello. I'll say hi back. Very nice of you, thank you. Obviously, let me know if you're watching, because there's house points in it. And if you can't watch live, and you're watching later on, send me an email of your work, and I'll give you the house points as well. There we go, 1 minute up. So, what do we know already about the story? So we know that is just rang again. Creepy. Haunted timer. No. What do we know already about the story? The story we know is that long. No, I'm joking. About homelessness, frightened, alone. Link, so there's a character called Link. Find himself down and out in London. So he's based in London. He only survives because he's befriended by Streetwise Ginger, another character. When Ginger suddenly disappears, Link is in despair. Then he meets Gale, another character, so know that Gale's in it, and street life doesn't seem so bad. But other kids are vanishing now. Intent on his grisly mission, the man who calls himself Shelter stalks his next victim. Will it be Link? So his characters disappearing, and obviously I've mentioned all the characters in that little section there as I go back to my emails once more. Lovely. Thanks for your response. Well done. So, I'll make sure you get house points tuning in as well. So, moving on. Moving on. Yay, right, they all come. I've got like 20 emails at once. It's great, I know, I can see them on my watch. So there we go. As I just read. Kids are disappearing, but no one cares. Homeless, frightened, and alone. Link finds himself down and out in London. He arrives. I'm still here, don't worry. He only survives because he befriended he's befriended Streetwise Ginger. When Ginger suddenly disappears, Link is in despair. Then he meets Gale, and street life doesn't seem so bad. But other kids are vanishing now. Intent on his grisly mission, the man who calls himself Shelter stalks his next victim. Will it be Link? Da-da-da-da. So, a little recap, not recap, but a little explanation of the characters. The novel Stone Cold centres around two very different characters. Therefore, there'll be two different styles of narration in a novel. While we read the novel, be sure to note how Swindells creates and conveys these distinctive voices. Let's explore our first impressions of them. So, Link. Oh, where am I to? I want to make my face reappear. I'm not Link. I mean, I could be. You can call me Link. It's not my name, but it's what I say when anybody asks, which isn't often. I'm invisible, see? One of the invisible people, right here. One of the invisible people, sorry. Right now, I'm sitting in the doorway, watching the passers-by. They avoid looking at me. They're afraid I want something they've got, and they're right. So, there we go. 3 really quick questions for you to answer there. Don't need that long to do those. 2 minutes. Will I sneeze? Sorry, that looks. I've got all of them. Must be concerning, wouldn't it? I saw the microphone go into the red then, so that must have got really distorted. So I apologise. Bless me. Well, I check about my 1,000 emails. Lovely. Yes, I think I caught everyone now then. If I get that person, I've got that person. I've got. Oh, it's frozen. That person. Yes, I got. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one. Wrong page. Go back. I need that person as well. Oh, 1, 2, 3. No, 3. No, we've got more than 3. 4. What's that for? Ah, 4. Done. Right, well done. Keep it going. You have less than a minute left. I can read all my emails. Lovely, jubbly. That's fine, don't worry. If you missed the first bit, don't panic. It's alright. I'm not really overly fussed. It takes a while sometimes to get in. As long as you're here now. You can always rewind one day if you wish. You can watch the beginning, but it's fine. I'm not really that fast. There we go. Time is up. Have I have my microphone on? Yes, otherwise you just see my mouth moving and not a lot coming out the sound. So, what name does the character give to other people? Link. The name that this character gives is Link. Why do you think Link doesn't give his actual name? Probably because, I don't know your answers, but my answer would be in sense of not wanting to give away his identity. Maybe he's done something wrong. Maybe he's trying to run away from someone. And what does Link mean by I'm invisible? See? That was really weird. The timer stopped at that exact moment. Probably saying how no one notices them when they're on the street because they are not noticed on the street because they're homeless. So people just walk past them and ignore them. Possibly that's my interpretation of it. Love to know what yours is. Lovely. Next one. Shelter. Shelter. Yes, I like it. It's got a ring to it, as I'm sure you will agree. Shelter, as in shelter from the stormy blast, is what they're all seeking. The street people. What they crave. If they can only find shelter, everything will be fine. Well, get fell in. I'm lucky. Well, get fell in, my lucky lads. I'm ready for you. So again, what are the connotations of the name Shelter? Who do you think are the street people? Where do you think Shelter lives? Again, just inferences, predictions. 3 minutes, 2 minutes. I think I've said it to 2 minutes. Time starts now. Oh, you're the guys who know about my saxophone impression, aren't you? Everyone's go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So saxophones. If you know, you know. One minute. Less than a minute. It's exciting, isn't it? These are good questions. These are good questions. I hope they are. They're not fun, but they're good questions. Okay, about 10 seconds. I don't know, I'm guessing. Trying to work. There we go. There was about 10 seconds. Yeah, I'm good at this, aren't I? Time's up. So, what are the connotations of the name shelter? You think about shelter, what do you think of? Think about staying safe. I think about being away from the rain because it's raining right now and it's obviously been nice weather, so shelter from the rain, shelter from the outside world, possibly. Obviously, there's a charity called Shelter as well, isn't there? Who do you think of? Oh, sorry, not who do you think of. Who do you think are the street people? I guess the street people will be the homeless people who are living out on the streets and not living in a house or a shelter. Where do you think Shelter lives? I don't know. I'd love to know what your ideas are for that. I think where could Shelter live? I've just got into it. Shelter. Or maybe Shelter lives in some sort of hostel, possibly. That could be interesting, couldn't it? And that is like some sort of twist. Who knows? Who knows? So, it's time to read pages 1 to 10, which means that I need to find the book, open to page 1, and start reading. So, make sure I find the correct first page. And then I'll go to that one. Whee! So, everybody looking at their books, following along. Now, if you ever get bored, which I know loads of you will, because you do, then Miss Chamberlain on her YouTube channel, trying to be cool like me, she's uploaded the story of her reading it. So if you want to ever go back and listen to the whole story, it's all in parts, it's all there. Feel free to watch it. But I'm going to read it to you, and I hope that you enjoy. Way. Okay, lovely. So, you can call me Link. It's not my name, but it's what I asks, which isn't often. I'm invisible, see? One of the invisible people. Right now, I'm sitting in the doorway watching the passers-by. They avoid looking at me. They're afraid I want something they've got, and they're right. Also, they don't want to think about me. They don't like reminding I exist. Is like me. We're living proof that everything's not all right, and we make the place untidy. Hang about, and I'll tell you the story of my fascinating life. I'd love to know the story of your fascinating life. Shelter. Yes, I like it. It's got a ring to it, as I'm sure you'll agree. Shelter is in shelter from the stormy blast, is what they're all seeking. For street people, what they crave. If they can only find shelter, everything will be fine. Well, get fell in, my lucky lads. I'm ready for you. So you've read. So daily routine orders 1. We've read this before, obviously. Here we go. My fascinating life. Yes. Born March 20th, 1977, in Bradford, Yorkshire, to Mr. and Mrs. X. We were a family, you know, as happy as most, till Dad ran off with a receptionist in 1991 when I was 14 at the local comp. This mucked up my schoolwork for quite a while, but that's not why I ended up like this. No, Vincent's to blame. For that, I don't know why I said it like that. For that. Ah, good old Vince. Mum's boyfriend, I don't know what's happening to me. You should see him. I mean, Mum's no Kylie Minogue, but Vincent, he's about 50 for a start, and he's one of those old dudes that wear cool gear and try to act young, and it doesn't work because they're fat bellies and they just make themselves pathetic. And as that's not enough, and as if that's not enough, Vince likes his ale. I suppose Dad must have been a bit of a in his way, but at least he wasn't a boozer. It's got a line for this. You should see the state Vincent's in when he and Mum come home from the club. He's got this very loud laugh, laughing at nothing, if you know what I mean, as he stands there with his arm round Mum, slurring his words as he tells me to call him Dad. Dad. I wouldn't call that fat pillock Dad if he was the last guy on earth. And the one thing that really bugs me is the way he leers at Mum and comes out with this very suggestive stuff about going to bed and rounding off a decent night. In all the years Dad was with us, I never mentioned sex in my hearing or even hint at it. This job leers and winks and nudges with one eye on me to see how I'm taking it, and Mum just laughs and shoves him and says, "Ooh, you are a one." It makes me puke. He changed her. That's one of those things I hate him for. She used to be one of those quiet people who are satisfied with the daily routine of their lives. She hardly ever went out at night. She didn't seem to want to. She was wrapped up in her family, I guess. We needed her, and I think she loved us. Me and Carol, I mean. Oh, I know how it sounds, me going on like this about Mum is as though she wasn't entitled to a life of her own. Of course she's entitled, but what I'm saying is, why Vince? Carol's my sister, by the way. She's 4 years older than me, and she's always spoiled me. And Vince moved in, and Mum starting changing. It was Carol who made life bearable for me. It was bad, but I could stand it with her there to support me. Then one night, when Mum was working late, something happened between Carol and Vince. I didn't understand it then, and she never told me anything, but I felt it must have been what it must have been. Anyway, she said something to Mum, and they had this flaming row, and it ended with Carol walking out of the house. She moved on my own. I stuck it out till I finished school, but that was it. I got 5 GCSEs, which was a miracle when you remember what was going on at home, but I couldn't get a job, and there's no government money for school leavers. You're supposed to be on a training scheme, but there aren't enough places, and I didn't get one. I'm sure Mum would have supported me till I found something, but it wasn't long before Vince started on at me about on his money. I wasn't living on his money. I'd have taught myself first. It was Mum's money, but he went on and on, getting nastier and nastier, and one night, when I'd been with my mates, he locked me out of the house. It wasn't even his house, but he locked the door and wouldn't let Mum open it. Carol's, and I've got hiccups now, let me spend the night. And when I got home next morning, Vince started slapping me around the head for going off and worrying Mum. If you happen to know anybody who's looking for a 100% out and out, I can let him have Vince's address. Anyway, that's how he was with me, and I guess Mum's scared of him because she didn't stick up for me. So I left. You'd have left too in my place. Anybody would. It's called making yourself homeless. And so here I am, sitting in the doorway, which is now my bedroom, hoping some kind punter will give me a bit of small change so I can eat. Good, eh? Daily routine orders too. I'm getting used to my name, breaking it in like a pair of new boots. Good morning, Shelter, I say, smiling. Good morning, Shelter. You're a handsome devil, but you're idle, lad. You need to shave. It's not me, I promise. I've been writing it too on the backs of old envelopes. Shelter, Shelter, Shelter. It's starting to look like an authentic signature already. I'm developing a voice here for Shelter. I like it, don't you? It's starting to look like. I realise, of course, that all this has precious little to do with recruiting. Perhaps you think I'm stalling, putting it off. Not so. I'm merely indulging myself. After all, there's plenty of time. The street people aren't going to go away. And anticipation is the best part of a treat, as my old granny would know. So it's a case of wait for it, you horrible little man. Yeah. I didn't come to London straight away. I may be homeless and unemployed, but I'm not stupid. I'd read about London. I knew the streets down here weren't paved with gold. I knew there were hundreds of people, thousands in fact, sleeping rough and begging for coppers. But that's just the point. See, in Bradford, I stuck out like a sore thumb. Bradford! Because there weren't many of us. The police down here have got used to seeing kids kipping in doorways, and mostly they leave you alone. In Bradford, I was getting moved on every hour or so. I was getting no sleep at all, and practically no money. People up there haven't got used to beggars yet. They're embarrassed. They make large detours to avoid passing close to you. And if somebody does come within earshot and you ask for change, they look startled and hurry by. Also, I keep seeing people I knew, neighbours, guys I've been to school with. I even saw one of my old teachers once. And if you've never been caught begging by someone who knew you before, you can't possibly know how low it makes you feel. I wasn't out every night back then. That was the one good thing about it. Once or twice a week, I'd show up at my sister's for a bath, a meal, not a metal, a meal and a decent night's sleep. Trouble was, I was getting scruffier and scruffier, which happens if you sleep in your clothes. And Chris, Carol's fella, got resentful of my visits. He didn't actually say anything to me, but I could see it in his eyes and hear it in his tone of voice, and I knew Carol must be catching hell from him every time I'd been there. So, what one thing, the time to move on. Sounds good, right? Time to move on. Reminds you of all those old songs about the restless character who hates to stay too long in one place. He meets a girl who falls in love with him, but after a while he hears the old highway calling, and so he slings his bedroll over his shoulder and moves on, leaving the girl to grieve. Dead romantic, eh? Forget it. Sad is what it is. Sad and scary. You're leaving a place you know and heading into the unknown with nothing to protect you. No money, no prospect of work, no address where folks will make you welcome. You're going to find yourself living among hard, violent people, some of whom are deranged. You're going to be at risk every minute, day and night, especially night. There are guys so desperate or so crazy they'll knife you or backle your sleeping bag and the coppers you've got in your pocket. There's some try to get in your sleeping bag with you because you're a nice looking lad with soft skin and no stubble. And there's nowhere you can run to because nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn. Just another dosser, and one dosser more or less makes no difference. So, that is pages 1 to 10 of the story. And there's going to be a few questions for you to answer now. Answer in full sentences, please. What do we learn about the two characters in this from these initial chapters? How does Shelter feel about homeless people? Find a quote to back up your answer. It's going to be difficult, but if you can remember one along the sort of lines, I know it's difficult when you haven't got the text in front of you. Do you, as the reader, feel sympathy for Link? How do Swindells achieve this? And why might Swindells have given Shelter his name? Okay, so I did start the timer before I turned the visualizer on. There's your questions. There's your timer. The time starts now. I'll make it a little bit bigger because then you can see it a bit better. There we go. Time has started. Okay, so you have about 6 minutes left to answer these questions. No, don't break on me. Uh, 5 minutes. Still here, don't worry. I've not disappeared. Let's check the chat. There we go. Bit of a stretch now. 5 minutes. Sorry, I was replying to an email. Oh, stretchy, stretchy, stretchy. What do they call that? Isn't it some sort of run? Wrong with me. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Who knows? This could be our last live stream. It'd be sad, wouldn't it? Probably is, to be fair. Nah, I'll find a way. We'll find a way. Okay, got about less than 4 minutes left. Less than 4 minutes left to do the work. Just want to sing, but I don't want my singing to be on the internet. Sing around the classroom. You know, but singing here is a bit weird, isn't it? Bit weird. Download it. Auto-tune it. So, what did you I don't know what I'm on about. What did you learn about the two characters from these initial chapters? Feel about homeless people. Find a quote to back up your answer. That's a bit difficult. We don't have the book, so don't worry about that. Like I said, do you, as the reader, feel sympathy for Link? How does Swindells achieve this? And why am I going to shelter this name? Don't know why I went shelter. Shelter. This name. Got a bunny. Stream's gone poor. Stream's gone poor. No. 2 minutes. 2 minutos. Minutos. See, we're all about cross-curricular here. Bet you didn't think you were going to be doing Spanish today. Or you probably may have done Spanish today, but you didn't think you'd be doing Spanish during English, did you? Yeah. 2 minutos. It's probably wrong as well, to be fair. I was never good at Spanish. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Uno minutos. Uno minutos. 1 minute for those who aren't as fluent in Spanish as I clearly am. I only did Spanish at school. Didn't do any other language. I wasn't that good at it, to be fair. Not that smart. I have high respect for you guys who can do better at languages than I can. Uno minutos. Don't have to say less than in Spanish. I see that's how bad I am. Uno minutos. Otherwise known as less than 1 minute. Probably about 30 seconds. About 30 seconds, yeah, I can do that. About 30 seconds, yeah. About 30 seconds, really, yeah. Oh, got email I have. Right, let's check that out. See what that is. That's right then. Sorted. Lovely, jubbly. Radio. Right. What am I doing? That. I want that. And I want to go back that. Oh, there we go. Time's up. Woo. So, what do we learn about the two characters from these initial... Oh, sat on my suit jacket, that's why I went weird. What have we learned about the two characters from these initial chapters? So we've learned a little bit about Link, we've learned about Vince, we've learned about Carol, we've learned about how it happened. It wasn't actually the fact, but the fact that Vince came in and started messing with the... I was going to say something really posh then. I think I was going to go Latin, kind of what I was going to say. With the balance of life. I wasn't Latin, was it? But the balance of life in terms of things working out, you know, it just threw things off balance and he didn't really get along with Vince, and Carol fell out with Vince, and then when she moved out, obviously made things less bearable for Link, and that's why Link decided to leave. He doesn't like living on the streets. He lives up in Bradford on the streets, I think. Thinking about London as well. Then obviously there's Shelter. Okay, so we learn a bit about Shelter. Shelter's like this really horrible man. He talks like this because that's how I did it. His name's not actually Shelter, but he likes the name and he's getting used to it. He's right at the back of envelopes. So I think we learnt more about Link than we have about Shelter. I think that's very deliberate. There's quite a lot of ambiguity. So ambiguity means vagueness. There's quite ambiguous. Oh, my hands look horrible, wouldn't they? Quite ambiguous about Shelter's background, Shelter's life. So maybe it creates a sense of mystery because we don't know what's that much about Shelter. How does Shelter feel about homeless people? Find a quote to back up your answer. Now, I don't think Shelter is very fond of homeless people. And a quote that I would use to support that is, I think it's the first bit. I was trying to look then. The street people. That's what they're all seeking, what they crave. If they can only find shelter, everything will be fine. I mean, it doesn't really make him sound good, does it? I realise, of course, that all this precious little to do with recruiting. Perhaps you think I'm stalling, putting it off. Case for it. So it's a case of wait for it, you horrible little man. I would say that makes it sound like he doesn't like street people or homeless people. Assuming that street people are homeless people, which I think we can have a 99% chance of presuming that that's right. How does the reader feel? How do you as a reader feel sympathy for Link? How does Swindells achieve this? I would say that as a reader, I would feel sympathy for Link because there's loads of links, ironic, to like our everyday lives and how we go through things. Okay, so as a young person yourselves, younger than me, obviously, you get the idea about how Link feels, possibly. So you know that Link feels a bit uneasy and feels strange seeing teachers in the street. If you ever walk past me in the street, you know how weird that feels. So it creates that sense of sympathy because you have empathy for some of the situations because you understand them, and it appears real. As a backstory, that seems like something that's very convincing and something that could easily happen to anybody. Why might Swindells have given Shelter this name? Okay, so we talked about earlier about the connotations, the meanings of the word shelter. So I believe Swindells might have given this the name Shelter because it's like a magnet, isn't it? Oh, I want to go to Shelter. So it's a caring name, and that juxtaposes, think about back to our key vocabulary from Romeo and Juliet, juxtaposes, contrasts the idea of Shelter actually wanting to go after and not liking homeless people. So it's an idea of juxtaposition within that. Hopefully some of you wrote that word, and I'd be very, very impressed if you did. If you haven't, you're going to write it down now, pretend you wrote it before, and then email it to me like, oh, look, sir, look what I wrote. I'm so clever. That's what I'd be doing right now. Anyways, back to this. Reading on. Pages 11 to 15. Let's happens on pages 11 to 15. I bet you all can't wait. Move the timer out the way. Put the visualizer screen on. Like that. So, daily routine orders 3. I've been out tonight. I was at the tube down to Charing Cross and walked about a bit. Tour of inspection, you might say. As I found them, as I'd known I would. Hundreds of scruffy blighters lying around making the place look manky. I marched along the Strand and there they were, dossing in all the doorways, even Lloyd's Bank and the law courts. Bugger, couldn't have been more than 17, actually asked me for money. Have you got any change, he says. I looked him up and down, I said. Change? I change you, my lad, if I had you in khaki for 6 weeks. He didn't go in, though. He just smiled and said, have a nice night. Cracker up his arse. That's what he wants. That'd wake him up. That, or 6 weeks, Strenzel, National Service. That was my thing. It brought them all in. The Teds, the Rockers, the Mammies boys. And it changed them. By golly, it did. In 6 weeks, there were no Teddy boys on that passing out parade, I can tell you, and no rockers either. Soldiers, that's what it made of them. There were no exceptions. And that was my mission in life, to turn dirty, scruffy, pimply youth into soldiers, into men. I did it too, year after year. Yeah. And what thanks do I get? I'll tell you. They chucked me out. 29 years service. And they turned round and chucked me out. Medical grounds, it says on the sheet. I guess it would be. Discharged on medical grounds. And there's nothing wrong with me. Nothing. I'm 47 and as fit as a butcher's dog. Medical grounds are just an excuse, of course. I know why they really chucked me out. They chucked me out because their mission in life is exactly the opposite of mine. They think I don't know that, but I do. They're all part of the plot. See? There's a plot. It's been hatching a long time now, to undermine the country by clogging it up with dossers and junkies and drunks. Some of the top politicians are in it, the civil servants, social workers, and even the church. They want to flood the country with winos and crims and down and outs and drag it down. There's no better than some of the filthy holes I'm served in all these years. They're powerful. They'll stop at nothing. What's the career of one sergeant major to them? Nothing. That's what. Nothing. They're not going to stop me, though. Oh, no. They abolished national service and they've put me where I can turn garbage. I can't turn garbage into men anymore. But I can clean up the garbage, can't I? They can't stop me doing that. And I will. By golly, I will. Now, where do we get to? Oh, yeah, I remember. Time to move on. I'd applied for loads of jobs in the month since I'd left school. Office work, supermarkets, catering, filling stations, you name it. Most employers wanted experience. You guys probably know that, don't you? Some ads actually said unemployed persons need buy, which is criminal in my opinion. I'd started applying in August and I had a couple of interviews, but as I said before, sleeping in your clothes makes you look scruffy. And by Christmas, I looked like a tramp. I knew nobody was going to take me on looking like that. And I started getting Christmas didn't help. I spent it at Carol's, which was kind of her and Chris, but it was still the worst Christmas I'd ever had. For a start, Carol and Mum had put their money together and got me this sleeping bag. A really posh job. Quilted, waterproof, the lot. It must have cost a bomb, and I knew they only meant to be kind, but it said something to me. It said they thought of me as a dosser. Someone who might always be a dosser, so he might as well be as comfy as possible. It hurt like hell, but I didn't let them see. And I've got to admit, it's come in handy ever since. Anyway, there was that. And then Boxing Day, Mum came round, and she brought Vince with her. I can only think that Carol had never told Chris the full story about him, or surely Chris wouldn't have had him in the house. Anyway, they came for dinner and stayed till 1 o'clock next morning, and of course everybody got drunk. Everybody except me. And once he got a skinful, Vince started making cracks about me. The ghost of Christmas past, he called me. Don't ask me why, I was a disgrace, he said, stuffing myself in my sister's grub, sitting there with my long hair and tatty clothes, making Mum feel guilty when she'd had nothing to feel guilty about. Sponger and a layabout. And I ought to be looking for work instead of sitting with a face as long as a fiddle, spoiling everybody's Christmas. I didn't feel like peace on earth, I can tell you that. There wasn't a lot of goodwill toward men floating about, and the worst thing was, nobody stuck up for me. Not even my sister. I worn out my welcome, even here. So, on December 28th, I borrowed the price of a one-way ticket to London. Carol lent me the money. She even came to see me off at the station. She hugged me before I climbed on the board with my backpack and my bedroll. The next hug I got was from a stinky old cider-head in Lincoln's Inn Field, when I gave him 20 pence so he'd leave me alone. Good so far, innit? So, that's what we read so far. La 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 la. I told you I'd end up singing. First impressions, character profiles. Create a character profile for both Link and Shelter. When do we first meet them? What's happened to them up until this point? How do they feel about others? How do they act to others? How do others treat them? What are their likes and dislikes? And how would you describe their personality? Obviously, if you can remember quotes, use them to back up your ideas. But if you can't, don't worry too much. Okay. If you want like if you want, I don't know why I did that. If you want an idea of what it could possibly look like, maybe we did those fake book profiles with Dr. Roy a little while ago. You could do it along those lines. Yeah, you could. This is an example from um, Blood Brothers, I think. So you can like write it, maybe draw a little person and write things about and what questions you like to ask this character. You could do it like our fake book profiles, picture, link, and then bullet points you know about them. You have a little comparison chart maybe about what you know about them. So there's some ideas. Okay, if you want to go back and film, you can go back and find them on the video. Those are the questions I'm going to give you. Okay, so again, when do we first meet them? What has happened to them up until this point? Oh, panicking. How do they feel about others? How do they act towards others? How do others treat them? What are their likes/dislikes? How would you describe their personality? There we go. You need a bit of time to do this, don't you? 15 minutes. If you want to email me anything, feel free to email me. I will help you as much as I can. 15 minutes to do this. Your time starts now. This seems quite fun. Make it colourful if you've got colours. Computer. You don't actually have to write it up on a piece of paper. Do it on a computer. Make it really cool. That'd be cool. You know, make an actual profile. Oh no, I've got hooked on my watch. Do it that way. Do it whatever way you want, really. But there's some suggestions there for you if you wanted to have those. Let's reply to that later on. So, let's check my. Well done to everyone tuning in. It's good. It's good. It's good. Right. Let's set up my lesson. Ooh. That was weird. What just happened? There we go. There you go. I've done it already. It's good. It's good. It's good. Good fun. Good. Well, it's fun for me. It's probably like boring for you. But like I said, go wild with it. Create your own little profiles. Send me photos of them. Upload them to Clash Chats. Be good that. Like I said, don't worry about using quotes because you don't have the book in front of you. I need a drink. That's what I need. I need a drink. I need a drink. Better. Got about 11 minutes left. I was just in a little world of my own then. It's like, we're going to look back and be like, oh, so it's in a little world of his own. Oh, why does it keep doing that? What is that? Why does it keep beeping at me? I haven't done anything. It's creepy. It's haunted. Right, maybe it was that. It'd be weird if that exact same sound as Clash Chants. Okay, you have about 7 minutes left. 7 minutos. 7 minutes left. still there? Yeah, I'm still here. Woo. Do your work and you won't be bored. That's the truth. Boom. Sounds like such a typical teacher thing to say, isn't it? 5 minutes. Making your character profiles. Oh, well done. Great. Good work. If you're done, it can't just be a picture and say he's homeless, or it can't be a picture and say he doesn't like homeless people. Right? See? I know. I know. See, if I was going round right now, I'd be telling you, right, include some quotes, also you haven't got a text now, so I'll be like, right, let's look at your work. Okay, your date and title won't underline for a start. I know, right, I know you say you haven't got a ruler, but you could at least underline it. Okay, I see, what you put there, is that spelt correctly? Yeah, right, check your spelling then. Right. See. See, I know, I'm a teacher, I know this. I can smell it. You haven't underlined it in title, see, I knew. Then you go, and I'll be like, oh, okay, so check spelling that. Right, okay. So read that out. Does that make sense? Yeah, right, you've done that. Right, next thing. Could you write a little bit more? Have you answered all those questions? Have you put when they first met? Or when we first met them? Have you mentioned everything that's happened to them? Did you mention about Vince for Link? Did you mention about Carol and the Christmas? Did you write about how they feel about others? Okay, and it's quite important. See, you thought you finished. You hadn't finished, have you? See, I knew it. I knew it. It's just got an email. Distracts me for a while. How long we got left? 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutos. 3 minutes. I need to go back to the checks. I'm sure I've missed something. Yeah, see, you deleted the fact you said you've finished. See? I know. I know everything. I'm very intelligent. I pretend to be. I pretend to be. Got about 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. 2. Yes, let's make sure I can count. About 2 minutes left. 2. Ooh. I think a bird just landed on the top of the bunker. Oh, but that's something big landed on it. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah. Two minutes. Yeah. 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 Less than 2 minutes. Got just over a minute left to do this, which is plenty of time because you had 15 minutes. Actually, it's only 1 minute left now. I was getting too excited. About 50 seconds left. Sir, please stop singing. It's really bad. Yeah, you're distracting us. Sir, it's your fault we haven't done any work. See, I know your answers already. I'll just put it on mute, sir. You're talking too much. Yeah. Shame we're able to do that when we go back, innit, really? About 10 seconds left. Otherwise, that would have made no sense without the left. There! That is your time up for that activity. So, when do we first meet them? We meet them at the beginning of the book, and we meet them at different stages. Link's living in Bradford. Shelter's just come out of the army. What has happened up to this point? Link's obviously fallen out with Vince. Carol's come in to help out occasionally, but Carol's fella, as he says, Chris, doesn't really like them, like Link visiting them. So, it's a bit awkward there. Link's mum and Vince just got together, and it just didn't really work, and no one really liked Vince. So that's what's happened. And Shelter used to be in the army, got discharged from Bounds, and he wasn't very pleased with it. So he's gone out on his own little independent mission. How do they feel about others? Link's, I think, is quite compassionate, whereas Shelter obviously doesn't like homeless people. How do they act towards others? Link obviously does hate people because he dislikes Vince. He calls him some quite strong words. He likes Carol. Feel a bit weird. Doesn't really know how he feels about his mum. We know he doesn't really like Chris, Carol's partner, as much because he feels a bit weird being around him. Shelter is very unknown about how he acts towards the people. I think he wants to go out and hurt people. We can get that impression from the story so far. So maybe he doesn't like people. How do others treat them? I think Link gets ignored, obviously, but he's obviously cared as well by cared for by his family. They do care about him. His mum and sister went together to get a sleeping bag for him, so that shows some caringness. But do they really care about him? Because they don't offer him a place to live. Who knows? How do other people treat Shelter? Obviously, I don't know, really. We don't really know that much about Shelter at this stage of the story, do we? So we need to find out a bit more about that. And what are their likes and dislikes? I think we've been through that. How would you describe their personality? I describe Link as unfortunate to be in this situation. I describe him as caring, emotional, lonely as well, probably. How would I describe? That's not really personality, or well. How would I describe Shelter? Aggressive, scary, mean. That's how I describe them. Describe the personalities. So, there we've done that. Some final little adverts there. Okay, so here are some leaflets. Some of the leaflets for homeless charities. Okay, I just want you to look at the colour scheme, think about what sort of things they say on them. I feel better because I have learning activities. I'm Rumble and I just like coming here. I feel at home. Get in touch today. Give him enough and you'll eventually get them off the streets. The money given to homeless people on the streets is more likely to be spent on alcohol and drugs. Okay, so we have two very different leaflets there. Okay, my face is in the way. I just realised you couldn't read any of that. Okay, so that is the end of the lesson today. Oh, sir, you finished 4 minutes early. You let us go early. Yeah, I am. I'm that cool. I am that. Thanks for tuning in. Send me the work and I'll put it in my submission box to be marked and I will look through it and go, oh, very well done. You'll get house points for doing the work, get house points for tuning in, the rest like that. I'm the house point genie. The beard's getting long, isn't it? Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you do all your other work as well. And if you're not watching live, don't panic. Don't panic. I'm not watching live. Hello to late watchers. It could be 11 o'clock at night. A bit weird that. Don't be watching me at 11 o'clock at night. That's a bit weird. Go bed. Thanks for watching. Must not forget this. Make sure you wash your hands. Stay indoors. The more you do this, the more you stay indoors, the quicker we can go back to school. don't use the excuse to go out because that's not what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I hope you're all well. Thanks for doing the work, and I don't know what's going on next week, so slightly. Maybe I'll see you next week. Maybe we'll do this more. Maybe it's the last time. Who knows? But thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in if we do this again. Make sure you subscribe. All that stuff that all YouTubers say because they're cool. Thanks for watching, and I will get your work for you, or you will do your work and all that for next time. Thank you. Cheers. Bye. End stream.